Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into this show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. So on the docket for today, we have a few different stories. We are following up on the BILT Rewards Wells Fargo fiasco about fraudulent charges. Then we'll also add some more news about BILT Rewards upgrading their travel portal with a new partnership. Then we have a look at the new X1 card coming out with a waitlist, of course, because waitlists seem to be the new thing. We have an interesting study from the Federal Reserve about credit card rewards and who pays for them, and we will close with big banks partnering up to take on Apple Pay and digital wallets. So of course, if any of that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. So again, batting off with Wells Fargo and BILT Rewards, and we talked about this last week. But if you're missed out, long story short, BILT Rewards, the credit cards that were being issued by Wells Fargo and potentially other ones because they used to be with another bank as well, they got compromised in a BIN attack, which is a bank identification number attack, where hackers end up stealing a ton of bank identification numbers and just running them through in mass, so you get a bunch of different fraudulent charges. So that's been going on for the past week or so. BILT has set out a few different statements, but there's now, I would say, hopefully, final email going out to current cardholders, what they're doing and what you can expect. So if you take a look at this, you can see now the subject line again is recent fraudulent activity, and they're breaking down what's happened so far, so kind of what we covered. But the more important piece is, and again, what they're doing is, of course, they have a phone number for you, but at the bottom, I'll leave this on screen so you can read through it if you want. But what they're doing is they're issuing 1,000 BILT Rewards points to your account, and they will appear within the next 30 days. So it's nice to see them doing something, giving the points automatically. I feel like we need a little bit more than 1,000 points here, but again, I know we did have some folks affected. So again, I would still keep an eye on it. Definitely check for that email, and of course, there is that phone number as well. We've got a full blog post for it as well if you need that and want the full story. So with that, what can you do with your 1,000 BILT points that you may have gotten in your newly issued card? Well, of course, you can redeem them through the BILT Travel Portal, and it's now a little bit easier because BILT Rewards is partnering with a company called Point.me. It's point.me. And what Point.me is, it's basically a travel book. It's not a travel booking service, but it's basically its own type of third-party portal, if you will. Kind of think like an Expedia or something like that, except for the fact that they are focused on flight. Instead of like flight deals, you can book flights, but they take into account best reward point redemption. So you can go in there and you can plug in, hey, I'm trying to use this many United miles, or trying to transfer over this many points from here to here, and it will take that factor into account, with your booking, helping you select flights. So instead of just aggregating by price or carrier, you have that third factor in there. So it's supposed to make redemptions a lot easier. Again, BILT does function somewhat as a travel card because a big part of their redemption is the travel portal that they offer. Now, as a reminder, because I've gotten this question a few times, while BILT Rewards is issued by Wells Fargo, you could think of BILT Rewards as a co-branded card earning BILT points. It doesn't earn Wells Fargo points. There's no combination yet of Wells Fargo points to BILT points. That's something I think they should really look into as they try to rebuild their credit card setup later this year. But overall, I think this is a nice touch when you add something, that doesn't cost anyone anything, which is nice. And it is interesting, one of the things I hear the most about folks who like travel is that figuring out all the redemptions and things like that for maximum value is really deterring because you do have to put in some work. Now, I haven't used this service myself. How much work they're going to put into it, like finding peak, off-peak times and things like that for flights, I don't know. But I think it's worth a shot if you're going to redeem your points for travel just to see how it goes. Again, it's a free upgrade to the portal, so I think that's pretty good. Now with that, if you want another card that's kind of trying to push into the travel space, well, we have the return or the evolution of X1. So if you remember, X1 was the card that really ended up being famous for the drop test that they had on their website. Now, granted, I think it was warranted because they basically showed that they understood the current market, and people do like metal cards and drop tests. Well, anyways, that card's been out for a while. There's no annual fee, so now naturally you come out with your next version, which is X1 Plus, which now has a wait list for the card. So overall, we have some details for the card. There's still some things that need to be worked out. In my opinion, are more details provided, but here's what you can expect so far from the X1 Plus card if you are interested. So we have a lot going on here. Annual fee is coming in at $75. Your multiplier is going to be that 2x back on all purchases, 3 back on purchases with you when you spend $1,000 in a month, and that's limited to the next $6,500 in spend during the calendar month. So 4x back Expedia, Hotels.com, and Vrbo. And then there are partner stores. That was one of the things that the original one did. So you could get up to 10x back depending on where the partner stores are. So the benefits here where it gets a little bit interesting and geared towards travel. So you have worldwide lounge access for eligible for flight delays. You have on-demand lounge access and the smart baggage protection and enhanced coverage. You have other things like travel insurances, trip cancellation, baggage delay, protections like purchase protection, warranty protection, which is nice. Some of these are getting phased out on cards, so it's nice to see. Return protection, cell phone insurance, and then rental car protection, which is primary insurance for domestic, which is nice as well. So I'll leave that on screen for a bit because there's a lot to cover there, but overall, that is the X1 Plus card. And then the redemptions, from what I remember before, you could redeem for certain partner stores. You got the best redemption that way. This one also looks like they have redemptions to airlines and hotels. I don't think I know yet if they're doing like partner airlines and hotels or just towards airline purchases. Again, that's something I think we need more additional information on. Same with the lounges, because the lounge perk sounds interesting because the way it's written says, hey, if you're delayed, you can get a lounge, which is one of the better use cases for having lounge access, in my opinion. But I don't yet know what their lounge network is. I'm going to assume it's Priority Pass. I think we can rule out a lot of the major lounges. It's not going to be a Delta Sky Club. They're getting rid of folks of their own folks already. It's not going to be a Centurion Lounge. So it's probably some kind of partnership with Priority Pass Network. Again, we just don't know yet, so I would, it's waitlisted, so I would assume there'd be some more information. But, I wouldn't write this one off just yet from the travel insurances lens, because that is a lot of insurances, and that lounge benefits could be advantageous. All that for $75. That could be interesting. So I think this is one to keep your eye on. The first X1 card, I kind of shrugged at because I think it was way more hype than anything else. But, if they could actually offer all this sustainably for $75 and you travel a frequent amount, but not enough to be, married to maybe one carrier, one chain, then this looks like it could be interesting. But again, we just don't know enough yet. So with that, if you wonder who pays for all these rewards, like these X1 rewards and these BILT rewards we just talked about, well, the Federal Reserve has done a study for us, and it comes out, and I found it interesting, basically, but not surprising. So I'll link to the whole paper down below, but we'll go through the abstract, and I'll put some of the charts that they had on screen for you. It won't be surprising, but it's still interesting to see, in my opinion. So what they did was they went through and they said, hey, who pays for all these credit card rewards? That's actually what they titled it. So again, straight from their abstract, we study credit card rewards as an ideal laboratory to quantify redistribution between consumers in retail financial markets, comparing cards with and without rewards. We find that regardless of income, sophisticated individuals profit from reward credit cards at the expense of naive consumers. That is the summary that they're going with. And again, that's not really that surprising. I think it's one of those brutal honesties in life. Not everyone can win. So it's more so just mentioning it, that it's out there. I don't think it'll be that interesting if I read a paper to you as a segment of this show, but it was passed on to me. Thought you'd find it interesting. Overall, it's not surprising, and I do think we have a level of sophistication. I would be careful with it. We're not exactly, trading on the Forex and doing derivatives and all that, but there's still a level of sophistication that I think that, this audience and all the similar audiences have that others generally don't, but I also think it's more of an interest thing. I don't think what we do is terribly hard or terribly impressive or remarkable in the least bit, and I can admit that as someone who talks about this on 2 channels and now has a website about it. It's really not that impressive. It's really not that hard. You just have to want to do it, and I think have the discipline to do it, and the report doesn't speak to that, but I really think that's what it is. The information is out there. Even if you're not going to go to YouTube and trust a random guy, there's Investopedia, there's NerdWallet, Experian has a website, there's good sources like that you can usually trust. So I think really that's what it comes down to. And sure, there's a part of it where you don't know what you don't know, but this day and age, man, I think we know it's out there. You just have to want to go and do it. So again, full report down below with the charts. I think it's fairly interesting. At least I'll call out the pages the charts are on if you want to skip to the good stuff. Now, with that, one more interesting story to close out the week here. Apple Pay and digital wallets, I mean, there are others besides Apple Pay, but, they get the bulk of it, right? The bulk of the notoriety. Well, it works for them because you load your credit card into their wallet, then you use, either NFC, or you can either pay through Apple Wallet through a computer, what have you. Then Apple gets a small piece of that transaction. So there's another person inserting themselves into the chain of payments between the card issuer, the payment processor, the payment network, the Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and then Apple, or the tech company, right? So now big banks have long since not really cared for this model because, surprise, they're greedy and want all the money. So now big banks are banding together to try to build their own digital wallet. So, we don't have a ton of details on it yet, but what we do know, it's headed by Chase, which is not surprising. Bank of America and Wells Fargo are the headliners. There are others, but they're partnering to build an Apple Pay competitor. Again, I think it's meant to compete with other people besides Apple Pay, but they're the headliner. So the digital wallet will be operated by Early Warning Services, which, again, is another cross-bank project, and that's the company that actually operates Zelle. Zelle, of course, was another partnership between all the banks, but they don't run it themselves. Now, Visa and MasterCard are also said to be on board with this. Early Warning Services did confirm to CNBC that they plan to launch a wallet later this year. So, again, we don't have a timetable, just, later this year, so it is happening. I have no doubt that they can do this. The technology's out there. Google Pay, Samsung Pay, or Android Pay, they can do it. The real issue and the real concern potentially I have is what's the benefit for the customer. And, I think tech companies do a great job of, they're so ingrained in our everyday life, and they tend to ship features, so yes, Apple Pay works off of near-field communication, but Apple didn't ship NFC. They shipped Apple Pay because that sounds cooler than, hey, we gave you NFC. And so there's the convenience factor. You already have that one. You have the ecosystem. So the real question is, will this be successful or not? It's like, what would be the value prop for a customer to then change? And if so, why? What would I get from it? Also, the other thing they do have is, number one, they could offer us rewards points bonuses, which I'm sure will happen because when tap to pay was a big thing, they offered, a few rewards points to start using tap to pay. Not many, so I could definitely see that. But also another concern is, would they start blocking transactions or limiting the rewards that went through a mobile wallet? I don't know. That could also be a thing if people don't cooperate and use theirs. So I'd be more concerned about that because, again, I have no doubt that they can do this. But why would the average person switch? That's the thing. I don't know what they would have to come out with something better. It's not enough to here's the exact same thing just issued by, made by banks. Doesn't really help that much. So I'm interested to see what they come up with because, again, as we always say, competition is good and I want to see it. So maybe let me know down below what you think. What are some features of you mobile wallet users out there that you would like to see? Maybe something where you can actually go back and, if you use the wrong card, you can switch it like Curve was talking about. But again, I don't know if banks are willing to let you switch cards. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think, would be beneficial to get you to switch. But anyways, guys, that has been the news for this week. So if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every week and right back here on Sundays with all the news you can use the week that was in credit and finance. Of course, we're over there every day on profitablecontent.com with all the latest breaking news and bonuses in the world of credit and finance, so go check that out as well. But again, sound off down below. Let me know what else you've seen going on in the week. What do you think about these stories? Love to get your thoughts on it. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching and talk to you very soon this week.